Good evening, students. We will do the previous year questions. First, as you can see, the first question is name the following type of question. Name the following type of question. The first question, the biological term given to the protective membranes of the brain, and the term given is meninges. The second question is the photosensitive pigment present in the rod cells of the retina, and the photosensitive pigment is rhodopsin, also known as visual purple. Third question is the internal layer of the eye which prevents reflection of light. So internal layer which is which prevents reflection of light is the choroidal layer. Next, let's move to the next slide. Next questions are to classify the following as conditioned or simple reflex. The reflex that we learn by experience are the conditioned reflex, and the one which is the natural reflex which comes by its own are the simple reflexes. So playing a guitar, this is a condition as we learn through experience. Second is removing your hand when pricked by a thorn. This is a natural reflex or simple reflex. Applying brakes on seeing a dog. This also we learn by experience, so this is conditioned. Blinking of eyes on exposure to sunlight, natural reflex. Tying one's shoes, conditioned reflex. Next, move to the next slide. The cerebral hemisphere in mammals are connected by the options corpus luteum and this hypothalamus pons varolii. No. Answer is corpus callosum. Corpus callosum connects the two cerebral hemisphere. Next question. Insulin is secreted by beta cells of the islet of Langerhans. Islet of Langerhans is present in the pancreas. These are the cells of the specialized cells of the pancreas, which are beta cells, alpha cells. Delta cells are not in your syllabus. So beta cells, they produce insulin. Alpha cells produce glucagon. Next, diagram based question. Answer the question with reference to the diagram. Name the parts labeled A, B, C. A is the cerebral hemisphere or cerebrum, B is the cerebellum, and C is pons varolii. Next question related to this diagram is give the main function of ABC. Main function of A is since A is cerebrum, so it is the seat of intelligence. It is responsible for willpower, it is responsible for memory, it is responsible for mental ability. So all kind of intelligence is related to the cerebrum. B is cerebellum, which helps in balancing or body balance. It is helpful in body balance. C is pons varolii, which helps in coordination of the two cerebral hemisphere and relaying the messages. Name the three protective layers of the brain. Three protective layers of the brain are dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. Name the basic unit of brain. Basic unit of brain is neuron, and basic unit of excretory system is nephron. So don't get confused with the words, as they are similar not similar in pronunciation, but sometimes students they get confused with these two words. So neuron is the basic unit of brain and nephron is the basic unit of excretory system. Now moving to the next question. Study the given diagram and the questions that follow. Now you can see the diagram given besides. Name the parts labeled A, B, C, D. A is the semicircular canal, B is the utriculus, C sacculus, and D is the cochlea. Name the part of the ear responsible for transmitting impulses to the brain. So part of the ear responsible for transmitting impulses is the auditory nerve, and it connects the cochlea to the brain. Name the part responsible for static balance. Part responsible for static balance is the vestibule, which is the sacculus and utriculus. Dynamic equilibrium is controlled by the ampulla, which is the swollen part near the, if you will remember this one, just let me tell you this portion, sorry. let's move to the previous question. So here we will select. Now where is the ampulla? Actually I will tell you the ampulla. This section, this part, the swollen part is the ampullary section. So these swollen bases are the ampulla, and they are responsible for the dynamic equilibrium of the body. Then hearing, it is related to the to this region, this cochlear region. This is the cochlea. So let's move to the next one. Next slide. Given below is the diagram of a human eye defect. Study the diagram and answer the following questions. Identify the defect. Now you can see the image formed. The image formed is in front of the retina. So since the image is formed in front of the retina, not on the retina or the it is not reaching the posterior end of the eyeball. So the defect is myopia or short-sightedness. Name the parts labeled 1, 2 and 3. One second, let me show you with the help of this. Here you can see this part. This is the lens. This one is the lens part, and just the area behind the lens is the vitreous humor. The area in front of the lens is the aqueous humor. So this one. Then the next question, the question was 1 is the vitreous humor, 2 is the retina, or this spots, if it is mentioned, this particular spot is mentioned, then this is the yellow spot, which is the area of the brightest vision. Then the third part is the optic nerve, which transmits the messages to the brain, that is sensory messages or the visual messages to the brain. So this one. Give the suitable reason for the eye defect. Suitable reason for the eye defect is that. One second, just let me erase this one. So here. Yes, one second. Let's move to the question. First, give the suitable reasons for the eye defect. Suitable reason for the eye defect is the lens become too curved, or the eyeball is the lengthening of the eyeball and lens become too curved. So these are the defects that are reasons for the eye defect. Then the next question is draw a labeled diagram. So when you will draw this diagram, you have to keep a concave lens in front of the eyeball, and then you can see the ray diagram, which shows the rays reaching up to the retina. So this diagram is the correction of the defect, where by using the concave lens this defect can be corrected. And labelings are also given: vitreous humor, yellow spot and optic nerve. Now next, these are the few diagram based questions. Then 2010, choose the correct option. The point of contact between two neurons, the answer is synapse is the point of contact, and the fluid present is acetylcholine, which is present at the neurotransmitter present at the synapse. The photoreceptor cells of retina sensitive to color are the cone cells. They are sensitive to color. Next question is explain the term hormones. Hormones are the secretions from the endocrine gland. Name the following questions. Name the following. Here we have to name the hormones responsible for the following functions. So increase in heartbeat. Increase in heartbeat is controlled by the adrenaline hormone. maintains glucose level in the blood, that is insulin, converting glycogen to glucose, again insulin. Then this is glucagon. Glucose to glycogen is by insulin, and glycogen to glucose, this is by glucagon. Regulates basal metabolism, this is thyroxine. Ossification of bones, again thyroxine. Prepares the body during emergency, that is adrenaline. Responsible for normal growth of the whole body, this is hormones released from the thyroid gland, that is thyroxine. Regulates the functioning of the male and female reproductive organ, that is gonadotropic hormones. Increased reabsorption of water in the kidneys, and this increased reabsorption by the vasopressin. Increased blood supply to the muscles, these are again by the adrenaline hormones. So these are the, as adrenaline is the fight or flight hormone, so it prepares the body for emergency situations. Now give one point of difference between the following on the basis of what is given in the brackets: myopia and hypermetropia. So here you have to make sure that you are mentioning the reason or differences based on the reason given or given in the brackets. So here you have to give the difference based on the cause of the defect. Myopia, the cause of the defect is the lens is too curved and lengthening of the eyeball, while in case of hypermetropia, the opposite of this, the lens is too flat and shortening of the eyeball. Cerebrum and spinal cord based on the cytons and axons. In cerebrum, it is the part of the brain, so cytons are arranged towards the outer side and axons towards the inner side, while in spinal cord the arrangement is just opposite. Just opposite means the cytons, they are towards inside and axons towards outside, which gives the appearance, white appearance to the spinal cord and gray appearance to the cerebrum. Next questions. Draw a well-labeled diagram of neuron. This I'll show you in the next slide. State the function of sensory and a motor neuron. Sensory neuron receives messages from the sensory cells, and motor neuron transmits the impulses from brain or spinal cord to the effector area where the messages are received. So what is a nerve made up of? Nerve is made up of bundle of axons of the neurons. So axon nerves are the bundle of axons. Next, in the next slide, just the diagram of neuron. You can see the diagram. In this diagram, the structures, one second. Sorry. In these branches, these branch-like structures are the dendrites, and you can see this branch-like structure. These are the dendrites, and the perikaryon. The perikaryon is the outside the nucleus. The part present outside the nucleus is the perikaryon. Then this is the axon part of the neuron, axon part, and it is covered by the myelin sheath. The gaps between these cells are the node of Ranvier. Now the next slide. Let's move to the next one. Given below is an outline of the human body showing the important glands. Gland number, name the glands marked 1 to 5. 1 is the pituitary gland, which is present in the brain. 2 is the thyroid. 3 pancreas. 4 adrenal gland present on over the cap-like structure on the kidney. 5th one is the ovaries, and in case of male, 5th one is testis in male. So testis in male and ovaries in female. Next question is name the hormone secreted by 2. You can see 2 is the thyroid gland, so the hormone secreted is thyroxine. One important function of this hormone is it is responsible for controlling basal metabolism of the body, and it controls the major activities of the body. Thyroxine hormone. Name the endocrine cells present in part 3. Endocrine cells present in part 3 is alpha and beta cells of the pancreas of islet of Langerhans, which is present in the pancreas, and alpha cells produce glucagon, beta cells produce insulin. Name the hormone secreted by part 4. Hormone secreted by adrenal gland is adrenaline. Give one important function of this hormone. Adrenaline is also termed as fight or flight hormone. Fight or flight hormone, it prepares the body for the stress situations or emergency situations. So moving to the next slide. 2011 questions. Name the following. The mineral element essential for the clotting of blood. When it is asked mineral element, then you will write the name calcium ions, and if it is asked the vitamin responsible, then vitamin K. The nutritive layer of the eye, which also prevents reflection of eye, light. This question we have already done, but the answer is choroid. The structural and functional unit of kidney. Structural and functional unit of kidney is nephron. This question also we have already discussed. Now moving to the next. State the main function of the following. Yellow spot, area of brightest vision. Coronary artery, it supplies blood to the heart muscles of the heart. Medulla oblongata, it controls the coordination or reflexes below the body. Thrombocytes, responsible for blood clotting. Vitreous humor maintains the shape of the eyeball. Next, moving to the next slide. Exact location of organ of Corti. Organ of Corti is present in the inner ear, in the cochlea. So cochlea, inside the cochlea, inner ear, organ of Corti is located. Pituitary gland in the brain, just below the hypothalamus. So close to the hypothalamus, and below the cerebrum, close to the hypothalamus. Next one, diagram based question. Study the following diagram carefully and answer the following questions. Name the cell labeled 1. The cell labeled 1 is RBC. Identify the phenomena occurring in A. Phenomena occurring in A is squeezing out of the WBC cells from the walls of the capillaries, and the process is diapedesis. Mention 2 structural differences between 1 and 2. 1 is RBC, 2 is WBC. The structural difference is RBC is biconcave shaped, while WBC is amoeboid. RBC lack nuclei, WBC contains nuclei. So and third major difference is the presence of hemoglobin. RBC contains hemoglobin, which is absent in WBC cells. Next question, name the process occurring in B and C. In B and C, you can see that pseudopodia develops around the germs, and this process is engulfing the bacteria. The process phenomena is phagocytosis. So the function is engulfing the bacteria or phagocytosis for destroying the germs. This is diagram based question. Name the region in the kidney where the above structure is present. You can see this structure is the Bowman's capsule, or the Malpighian capsule actually. All the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, everything is there. So this region is present in the cortex of kidney. Cortex, which is the outer region, it is present in the cortex. Name the parts labeled 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 is the afferent arteriole, 2 is the glomerulus, 3 Bowman's capsule, 4 is the efferent arteriole. Name the stages involved in formation of urine. Stages involved. First stage is ultrafiltration, which is in this structure only, that is through the Bowman's capsule. First is ultrafiltration. After that, in the PCT, loop of Henle, and DCT, that in PCT and loop of Henle, that is tubular absorption, and in DCT it is tubular secretion. So three phenomena: ultrafiltration, tubular absorption, and tubular secretion. These are the stages. What is the technical term given to the process occurring in 2 and 3? The technical term is ultrafiltration. Briefly describe the process. In this process, the filtration takes place through the wall of the capillary and through the wall of the Bowman's capsule. So there is it crosses two walls. So the process is termed as ultrafiltration. And this filtration is just because the efferent arteriole is narrower than the afferent arteriole, that is 4 is narrower than the 1. So the blood gets accumulated in the Bowman's capsule and it creates a hydrostatic pressure. Because of this pressure, the secretion or the urine along with other ions and substances gets filtered through the Bowman's capsule. Next, moving to the next question. Study the diagram given below and then answer the questions that follow. Name the cells of the pancreas that produce glucagon, and second is insulin. Glucagon is produced by the alpha cells of islet of Langerhans of the pancreas, and insulin is produced from the beta cells of islet of Langerhans. State the main function of glucagon and insulin. Glucagon helps in conversion of glycogen to glucose, while insulin controls the level of glucose in the body by converting glucose into glycogen. Why is the pancreas referred to as exoendocrine gland? Because it acts as an exocrine gland and secretes pancreatic juices for the digestion, and as an endocrine gland it secretes insulin and glucagon. Why is insulin not given orally but is injected into the body? The reason is, if it would be injected, it would be given orally, then the chances is that it may be digested by the enzymes proteases present in the stomach. What is the technical term for the cells of the pancreas that produce endocrine gland? So the question, technical term for the cells, that is islet of Langerhans. Repeatedly I am telling this answer, islet of Langerhans, ISLET. Where in the body the pancreas is located? Pancreas is located below the stomach in the coil of the duodenum of intestine. Just below the stomach in the coil of duodenum this is present. Next question, with reference to the functioning of the eye, answer the following questions that follow. What is meant by power of accommodation of eye? Power of accommodation of eye is adjustment of eye to see the distant objects or objects at various distance clearly. To see the objects clearly at various distances. What is the shape of the lens during near and distant vision? During near vision it is too convex, while for distant vision it is less convex. Name the two structures in the eye responsible for bringing about the change in the shape of the lens. The two structures responsible is the suspensory ligament and the ciliary muscles. Suspensory ligaments and ciliary muscles are responsible for bringing about the change in the shape of the lens. Name the cells of the retina and their respective pigments which get activated in the dark and in light. In the dark, that rod cells, and in light it is the cone cells. So as they are responsible for the dark and light vision, colored vision. Next, the diagram alongside represents circulation in the human body. Answer the following questions. Name the blood vessels labeled 1, 3 and 6 and 7. 1, as you can see, it receives blood from lungs to heart. So from lungs to heart it is always the pulmonary vein, then which is an exception also. It carries oxygenated blood, but it is named as vein. So pulmonary vein exception. Next, number 3. Number 3 is the small, it takes from small intestine to liver. It is hepatic portal vein. 6 is it takes from liver, hepatic vein. 7, as you can see, it pours the blood to the heart, so it is inferior vena cava, or the posterior vena cava, which pours the deoxygenated blood into the right auricle. Now next is the draw a label diagram of the blood vessel. This I'll show you in the next slide. Mention one structural difference between blood vessels numbered 4 and 5. 4, since it brings the oxygenated blood, so it is the artery, and 5, it takes deoxygenated, so it is vein. Structural differences: arteries, they are having thick muscular wall and narrow lumen, and 5, it is having wider lumen and thin wall. So this is the basic structural difference. Now moving to the next, that is the diagram of heart. Here of artery, diagram of artery, you can see the differences also. You can see the difference. Lumen is narrow, the 3 layers. Outer is the tunica externa, middle is the tunica media, and innermost layer is the tunica interna. The empty space is the lumen. So this is the diagram. Now moving to the next slide. With reference to the human ear, answer the questions that follow. Give the technical term for the structure found in the inner ear. Technical term for the structure found in the inner ear is the membranous labyrinth, which contains semicircular canal, which contains the vestibule, which contains the cochlea. So the membranous labyrinth. Name the 3 small bones present in the middle ear. 3 small bones are mesh, malleus, incus and stapes. A biological term for them collectively is the ear ossicles. Name the part of the ear associated with static balance. Part of the ear associated with the static balance is vestibule, which is sacculus and utriculus. Hearing, it is cochlea. Dynamic balance, ampulla of semicircular canal. Name the nerve which transmits messages from ear to brain. This is the from ear auditory nerves. From eye to brain, it is optic. From ear to brain, it is auditory nerve. Next slide. The phase of the cardiac cycle in which the auricles contract. This is auricular systole or atrial systole. The organ where urea is produced, liver. The hormone that helps increase the reabsorption of water from the kidney, it is vasopressin. Next, choose the correct answer from the 4 options given below. The part of the human eye where rod cells and cone cells are located, it is the retina. A reflex arc in man is best described as the movement of stimuli from receptor to sensory, then relaying and effector muscles. So this was all about the questions related to last few year questions. Now moving to the next slide. So let's start with the next slide. Next few more questions. Okay, let's begin. State the main function of the following. Chordate tendineae, it helps in keeping the valves at their proper location. Valves that semilunar, this bicuspid and tricuspid valves are kept at their proper location because of these muscular layers, that is chordate tendineae. Lymphocytes, they are helpful in killing the bacteria and immune system. Beta cells of pancreas, they produce beta insulin, which controls the blood glucose level. Next question. Study the diagram carefully and then answer the questions that follow. The diagram is depicting a defect of the human eye. Identify the defect. The defect is, since the image formed is behind the retina, so the defect is farsightedness or hypermetropia. Two possible reasons is the lens become too convex and shortening of the eyeball. Draw a neat label diagram. In the next slide I'll show you the diagram, corrected diagram. So the corrected diagram for this is this one. Here we will place a convex lens in front of the eyeball and the image is formed on the retina. So this is the corrected image. Now moving to the next slide. Let's move to the next slide. The diagram below shows the excretory system of human being. Study the same and then answer the following questions. Name the parts labeled 1, 2 and 3. And this question, whenever we give this question, the students are confused about the labeling of 3 and 4. So 1 is the posterior vena cava, 2 is the aorta. The veins which comes from 1 is the renal vein, and the vessel which comes from 2 is the renal artery. So 3 is the renal artery, 4 is the renal vein. Fifth, name the give the main functions of the parts labeled 5, 6 and 8, 7 and 8. 5, it collects urine from pelvis of the kidney and transfers it up to the urinary bladder. 6 is it stores the urine up to it until it is filled. 7, it is the muscular sphincter. It relaxes at the time of micturition or release of urine. 8 is the urinary passage. Name the endocrine gland which could be added in the diagram. The endocrine gland which could be added is the adrenal gland. Adrenal is located on the kidney as a cap-like structure, so we can add adrenal gland in this diagram. We could add this one at the top of each kidney. Then next question, identify the blood vessels A and B. In each case, give a reason to support your answer. A is the, as you can see, the basic difference is the inner space, hollow space, that is the lumen. In A, the lumen is very narrow, so and the muscular wall is thicker, so A is artery and B is vein. Since the lumen of vein is wider than A, name the parts numbered 1 and 2. 1 is the innermost layer of the muscle, that is the tunica interna, and 2 is the lumen. When are the sounds lub and dub produced during a heartbeat? Name the blood vessels. Then lub sound is produced when at the time of closure of bicuspid and tricuspid valves, that are commonly termed as mitral valves. Then dub sound is produced at the time of closure of semilunar valves present at the below the aorta and pulmonary artery. Name the blood vessel that begins and ends in 1 and supplies blood to the heart. Begins and ends in, the question is not clear, so begins and ends in capillaries. So this is the hepatic vein and supplies blood to the heart. Blood to the heart, it supplies blood is the inferior vena cava. Moving to the next question. Draw a well-labeled diagram of neuron. This way I have already shown you in the slides. Nasal granules, cyton. Name the part of the human brain which is concerned with the following: seat of memory, cerebrum, coordinates muscular activity, cerebellum. Name the following: the cell body of a nerve cell, cyton. Not like mass of the blood capillaries inside the Bowman's capsule. This is glomerulus. Choose the correct option from the 4 options given below. Pulse wave is mainly caused due to systole of the left ventricle. A gland which secretes both hormone and enzyme, pancreas. The ventral root ganglion of the spinal cord contains cell bodies of the ventral root ganglions. They contain the cell body of the motor neurons. Draw a diagram of human eye as seen in vertical section and label the parts. Photosensitive layer structure, which is responsible for holding the lens, maintains the shape of the eyeball and area of no vision. Anterior chamber, then outermost transparent layer seen in front. So with the help of diagram, I'll just explain you. The part labeled 1 is the part which is the layer which is sensitive to vision. So retina is sensitive to vision, which it contains rods and cone cells. Let's move to the previous slide. Here, number 2, these are the ciliary muscles and suspensory ligaments which help in keeping the eyeball at their correct position. Third one is the blind spot, which is the area of no vision. The chamber in front of the lens, which is marked by 4, is the aqueous chamber, and 5th is the thin layer of cells in front of the eye muscles, that is a conjunctiva. The diagram given below is responsible for is the human heart in one phase of its functional activities. Study the same and answer the questions that follow. Name the phase. Phase, as you can see, the blood flows from auricles to ventricle, and both the valves, bicuspid and tricuspid valves, are open, while the semilunar valves are visible as closed valves. So this phase is the auricular systole, where the auricles contract and pushes the blood to the ventricles. So auricular systole and ventricular diastole, this phases. Label the parts 1, 2 and 3. 1, as it sends blood from the right ventricle, so it is pulmonary artery. Number 2, it pours the blood to the right auricle, so it is the posterior or superior vena cava. 3, it is the aorta. It receives blood from the right ventricle and sends to distant parts. Next question is, which part of the heart is contracting in this phase? Auricles are contracting. Give a reason to support, as the valves are given open. Both the valves, bicuspid and tricuspid valves, are open and semilunars are closed. So this is the auricular systole. Draw a well labeled diagram of 1 and 2. Show the structural difference. 1. Let's move to the next slide. This we have already done. Difference between air capillaries and veins. So now we will move to the next slide. Give biological reason for the following. The wall of the ventricle is thicker than the auricles because ventricles has to push the blood up to distant areas of the body. So since they have to push the blood to distant areas, so they are thicker than the auricles. Renal cortex has a dotted appearance. Renal cortex contains glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, P and PCT. They are coiled in highly coiled structures, so it gives a dotted appearance in the cortex. Throat infections can lead to ear infections because throat and ear are connected by the eustachian canal.